Welcome back from the break, folks. We are one match down today, 4 to go. The next one up is going to be, as you can see, Elyssar taking on ATK. First, Connor, we'll talk about Elyssar. Thank you for joining us in today. Elyssar is a team that started hot, definitely cooled off. You could say that they're on a 2-week win streak, although one of those is a forfeiture.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take the points where you got to get them. But that little mid-season slump for LSR was due to the results of kind of having to play three of the top teams back to back to back in the same weekend. Really hard, rough week. And even when Giddy was not here last week, they still performed well with Focal in his place. However, Giddy, he's that highlight player for this team. He's one of the kind of core members, has always been a part of every iteration of this roster, spanning all the way back to the Slaughterhouse and Oblation days, where now he also has a little bit more firepower up front on the entry side. Enrio taking more of a backseat to a supporting role. Vivid solid as always. And then you have young Alec and Kento, who are two certified killers in front of him. Overall has made this team scary on paper and almost even scarier in game.
Yeah, definitely a team that I think even with a bit of a slump, you don't worry about them quite as much. ATK, Forceful, they only lost their first match last week.
Yeah, they've been playing really out of their minds the last few play days, and they just kind of had a bunch of hiccups last week. You know, we had Splash playing from Hotel Internet, dropping connection constantly. It was basically a 4v5 versus Carnico, where they managed to get the dub, and then they followed up the next game off stream versus Nocturnes on Skyscraper, and they kept playing this 4v5. They kind of looked lost a little bit. So hopefully this week, Splash isn't on that internet anymore. He's going to be having a stable connection. We get a proper 5v5. We can go back to seeing the ATK that we have been seeing for the last few play days.
Now, LSR, Connor, you said that they are starting to trend in the correct direction. What do they need to do to keep it that way?
Well, when you're playing against a team like ATK, who are a little bit wild and unruly, it's time to really go through each step of the process. Don't skip steps, slow and steady. Get your drone work, understand what you're going up against. And it's going to be that veteran leadership out of players like Giddy, Enrio, as well as Vivid, mainly Vivid on the IGL side, to really identify what the main flaws for ATK are, which is a little bit of overextending here and there. But with those overextensions comes the potential for ATK to make plays. A lot of trades are going to have to happen. Young Alec and Kento, they're going to have to be buddy-buddy all day today, within 3 seconds of each other, trying to play these refrag positions. As well, for the side of ATK, with LSR being a bit of a kind of more storied roster, they should have the stronger map pool, where ATK has only really found success on those clubs in Oregon.
Yeah, ATK, Forceful. It's surprising. We were just saying one loss, yet they're still only in second at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, they've been performing absolutely spectacular throughout the rest of the stage. There are some issues that we are starting to see, though, coming from the side of ATK. When I went back and I watched the VOD footage on them, one thing that I've noticed is they're not really taking control of the map. They have players just holding angles, and yes, they have really great entry stats. There's a lot of guys who are positive on the entry. However, the way that they're getting it is by holding angles and waiting for their opponents to push them. Now they've got nothing but difficult opponents coming in for their last 4 games. You've got Elyssar, you've got One Shot, you've got a bunch of teams that are in the upper half of the leaderboard. I'm really looking for those space makers to kind of show up from ATK so that they can basically close in with and destroy the players on Elyssar. And if they don't do that, I think Elyssar has a really good chance here.
Now, Connor, both of these teams, I want to know your thoughts as we do move into this map ban stage. What are your thoughts on their map pools? How do they go up against each other? Who was the stronger map pool?
Yeah, one of the things about LSR has been their they haven't wanted to go to the new maps at all. We've seen a lot of Skyscraper theme and border bans coming out of this side for LSR. And after talking with Kento, he was like, yeah, we don't have time to sit there and come up with all the strats ourselves. We kind of need a little bit of pro league precedent to help us guide. And now maybe because there's been a lot more of the NAL played, they'll have had some strats. Maybe that little extra bye week helped them. We might see a new map here, but overall, with the kind of strengths we've seen on the side of ATK, a lot of Clubhouse, a lot of Oregon, and a lot of strong showings on those maps.
Yeah, I mean, we could be seeing, it looks like we're going towards like a border here. Both these teams have shown that they don't want to ban it. They would like to go to this map. Oh, are we? Let's go. Let's go. So Chalet would have been a really good map choice for Elyssar, but I like their decision to kind of go and take ATK to border. That's a shooter's paradise. It's a map that's real simple, real fundamental for a team that likes to throw surprises in their opponent's ways, likes to get nasty, likes to be that scrappy kind of team like ATK. When you know where the players are, you know how they're going to be positioned, you know the key pieces of map terrain or map control that they want to have. This is a really smart choice, I think, from Elyssar. They're going to be able to find ATK and not have any of those surprises.
I know that these teams are dying to get into it. Connor, quick thoughts on the predictions right before we hop into the map.
Well, this map is a little bit more on the shallow end, which I think would kind of go a bit more towards the ATK playstyle. However, I think Elyssar has been cooking up, and once again, with consistency, kind of goes back to that veteran aspect where I think this is going to be a magnificent Giddy map. I'm expecting him to go absolutely huge, especially with where a soft reach typically plays and how important E-Stairs control is as both an attacker and a defender. I think that's going to lend himself really well to a player like Giddy. I expect him to pop off.
Well, I can't wait to get into it. This is definitely has you know, the makings of the most exciting match of the day. It's the number 2 team taking on the number 3 team, and we are finally going to border.
Shooters map, like the analyst S said, and Jonah, I can't wait. I mean, seeing people on ATK like Silent, Eddie, Ferda, Splash go up against the likes of Giddy, young Alec, Kento. I mean, it's going to be a frag fest. It might not be the most complex game, but I'm betting it's going to be a fun one.
This one should be amazing. I mean, I think we've got like the perfect storm here. We've got 2 of our top 3 ranked teams. We've got a map we've never seen yet, and a map that is frag heavy, ridiculous. I mean, this could be a incredibly fun time. Obviously, I'm sure these teams at times may try their hardest to take the fun away and do some crazy nonsense, but I am very, very excited for this one. I think this is a very encouraging place to go. And again, yeah, first border in this stage.
Ooh,
super exciting what these teams bring to the forefront. Already some innovation, though, from Elyssar. We got an OSA ban.
And that's not just a border thing. That's not just an Elyssar ban. We've seen it banned multiple times against ATK. I know a lot of you viewers have not seen the off-stream game against Nocturnes on Skyscraper, but Nocturnes also banned the OSA against ATK. They're a team that we've seen actually play that operator quite a bit, and I like this ban from ATK. ATK have never been a complex team. Neither has Elyssar, but even less so from ATK, to the point where sometimes their utility game on the attack really lacks. The castle ban is not only going to help alleviate some of that, but also make it so that if Elyssar had any crazy castle strats, like I know, Vivid can sometimes come up with to try and funnel ATK places, establish crossfires and safe lines of sight, they're not going to be afforded those armor panels anymore.
Well, with this a little bit more unique ban phase than normal, that means that we have a lot of dangerous operators still in the mix here. Defensive side, right? You've got the Valkyrie, you've got the Kaid, you've got those elements that you need, but Valkyrie is going to be ridiculous here. This is a map that has a ton of soft destruction, a ton of run out potential if you want to take the risk and throw a cam outside for 10 seconds before it eventually gets disabled. But on the attacking side as well, you've got to consider you've got all of those hard breachers still up. You've got the Finka still in play, and you've got the Flores still in play. All of these elements on a map like this that is so explosive, a lot of soft destruction, and a lot of potentially quick executes, especially keeping the Finka up, is a dangerous task, because now Elyssar starting off the defense, sure, they won't have to worry about the OSA shields, but we could see some aggressive attacks in ATK. They could move in soon.
There might be some aggressive defenses as well. Look at Giddy's shield right on the open armory wall, looking to directly challenge those players on the balcony. Very extended defense from Elyssar as well, all the way into CCTV and cash inside of office with an open fountain wall to top metal. Okay, so a lot of rotates, a lot of open angles established here for Elyssar that ATK are going to have to deal with. A little odd to me that Elyssar aren't picking up that Valkyrie, because with such an extended defense like this, I think her cameras could do nothing but help. But hey, they've got the Echo, so they do have, that mobile intel anyway, figuring, maybe those yokais are enough. We can free up that pick for something else.
I also imagine that this being the first time this map is seen, both of these teams are initially going to try to stick to the strats they've got on the books, and I imagine that Elyssar have prepared to play without the Valkyrie. So even though she's left up here, they may want to save her for a little bit later. But intel or not, Kento is going nuts. He's already got 2 kills. Ferda and Silent have been dealt with instantly, and ATK are now down 2 men and need to go crazy. Splash could have a play here if he's able to crouch walk up metal if Kento's looking the other way. But if Kento has just the slightest indication there's somebody behind him, he could turn around. No, Splash makes it in, but chooses to go straight into the site where Giddy is waiting for him. He gets identified by the alibi hologram, so yeah, he's not much longer for this world. Inrio next to take the fight. It's Julian who gets lit up and torn down. Eddie, last player standing, despite there being only 90 seconds left. We have seen 5 deaths already occur.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot going on from ATK in terms of teamwork. I mean, really, the only semblance of that we saw was the attempted refrag from the break door onto Kento, who Kento swiftly dealt with from there. We have, you know, Eddie trying to come in archives, Splash crouch walking up main, Julian top east. Very separated defense, very separated attack from ATK. Everyone doing their own thing. And on a map like Border, well, yes, it's a shooter's map. Yes, it's going to rely a whole lot on your ability to take gunfights. It's going to rely equally as much on your ability to get refrags. If you lose that initial 50-50 and you don't have someone right behind you, well, there's no recourse, and Elyssar took full advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that ATK, whatever plan they may have had coming into the round, quickly fell away after Kento got the 2 openers. Right, we talked about, and our analyst mentioned how this map is a shooter's map. I think that was what Forceful described this one as. A shooter's map, and Kento, well, he is a gunner, and he already is tearing apart ATK. Within the first, 30 seconds, 2 opening kills, ATK, even if they had some sort of cohesion or some sort of idea of how to coordinate and execute, it seemed that the moment those kills happened, they decided to just throw caution into the wind and just crouch walk up a staircase, swing some angle, push these positions individually by themselves in hopes that they could counter that gunplay with some frags of their own. But clearly that didn't work, so they're going to have to find a way to recover that as they move on to round 2.
Yeah, I remember before we were talking at the game when we saw it was Border. I think it was Cookies who said, "Yeah, I'm switching my vote to ATK. I think they're going to destroy Elyssar in this map." And I was like, me and Forceful were like,
are you sure?
I don't know. Elyssar have always had a little bit more depth than ATK, and I just have a feeling that Giddy and Kento are going to treat this map, we're going to see Oregon Kento on Border. That's what I'm hedging my bets on basically right now. So I know it's only been 1 round, but he looked real good. I might be cursing him, and he's going to do nothing the rest of the game, but, hopefully not. He is on the pulse, so significantly less frag-oriented operator, but if Kento's got the good comms, he can certainly be a round winner for his team. He's already seeing that a lot of these attackers are coming up towards CCTV and break.
Yeah, he'll be able to call out and communicate the position of ATK as they work their way, at least on one side of the map. He doesn't have the easiest of rotates over to the other side if he wants to try to identify the rest of these attackers. For example, the ones that Giddy is now trying to deal with himself. But if he rotates back around or gets back to the site, that heartbeat sensor, so valuable in any position that he positions himself in. Now, in Rio, he's being droned out, so he's been forced to scramble around office just a bit. Only a minute in, and 5 drones from ATK have been expended, so they're going to have to be careful with that remaining intel game and that utility going forward.
Yeah, I remember one of the critical points was that ATK needs a more solid drone game, and right now we're not really seeing that. 5 drones down in just a minute is not great, but it's not going to stop Eddie from getting that opening pick. Giddy goes down, but Eddie is instantly traded back. So, I mean, Giddy's already got his Valkyrie cameras down. He's already aiding his team with info. We can see there's Valkyrie cameras still left up on the board as well. And Splash eats a C4 to the feet, but still somehow survives with just a lick of HP left. He spots the legs of Kento. The pulse evades the shots for now, lights up Splash even more. If that Finkaboost didn't go out at just the right time, Splash would surely be a dead man. And Kento's actually going to start to move up the metal stairs. C4 from Inrio, not even aided by the pulse scanner. Perhaps the Valk cam from Giddy calls that out, and Silent goes down. Now it's a 3 versus 4. Elyssar with a massive advantage. Now, luckily for ATK, I mean, they've still got about a minute to play with, which isn't the end of the world, but as Kento now falls back and leaves Alec upstairs alone, if ATK aren't sure of this Jaeger's position, Alec could shut the round down by his lonesome.
Ferda hoping to sneak around and get a pick on the backside, but again, the intel game we've talked about from Elyssar, it is right now, well, it seems infallible. You've got bullets just flying towards every attacker as they work their way in. One of the core elements of this intel game, though, goes down. That's Kento, who hits the floor, but again, quickly traded as Ferda falls on his back. Inrio gets the finisher, and Vivid, picking up Splash off screen, leaves Julian alone to fend off 2 attackers, rather defenders, but he's only got 5 seconds, and he really has to just try to stick this bomb, but not likely to happen here. Young Alec, he'll wait for the last second to push in. Julian in the other corner. He'll turn around, take him down, and Elyssar take 2 in a row.
Good top floor hold from Elyssar, making sure that they weren't going to give up too many fights. The C4 presence as well working out. You know, Inrio with one of those kills. Another to refrag Kento on the Finka of Ferda, who's trying desperately to push into lobby and take some sort of map control for ATK. And while it wasn't as solo push heavy as round number 1, it still took a lot of time and, more importantly, a lot of drones for ATK to even step foot in that top floor.
Well, something I think worth mentioning is just the ease in which it seems Elyssar have been holding down the top floor, right? In these first 2 rounds, we've talked about their intel game and what they're doing with it. The first round, of course, they held down the top floor. They didn't bring the Valkyrie. And when you look at how they played with the Valkyrie in that second round, you kind of realize why they may have foregone her initially. Because as those attackers, you know they have to work their way in on that top floor. You have the Pulse, you have the Valkyrie, you have several C4s, and you can effectively throw those attackers sky high. We saw that happen once with an actual instant kill with a C4, excuse me, but you also had the C4 that did a ton of damage and almost finished off. I think Splash, it was, who was on the Buck, almost lighting him up and taking him all the way down. Really just good work overall from Elyssar to make sure their intel game was just spick and span. They had those nitro cells to compound that. Just really well done.
Now Elyssar are dropping the Valkyrie once again, but they've still got Pulse. And instead of being on Kento, it's on the IGL. It's on Vivid, the man with the main voice on the team. So he'll likely be able to, he'll likely be calling out rotations from these defenders based on where the attackers are coming in from. But it looks like they're already set up for where that pressure point is going to be. The attackers setting up all the way on the south side of the map, looking towards break room and CCTV, where the Elyssar defenders are holding. So, you know, you just talked about how well Elyssar have been holding the top floor, but that was on the other side of the top floor, not CCTV. It's something that we've yet to see them really have to hold down. You know, I don't suppose it's going to be particularly weak, but, you know, it's certainly going to be something new. Drones coming out from ATK. They have already lost 3 within the first minute.
The intel game, something we mentioned last time that they've got to tidy up. Especially going to be important for identifying the location of these top floor extended defenders, 2 of which are in CCTV, 1 of which is tucked over in Armory nearby to support them. Again, heartbeat sensor in play from Vivid. That's something ATK have got to be aware of. There are 2 C4s, impacts to open up some floor holes, a lot of soft destruction that they could utilize to punish ATK as they work their way in. But right now, ATK haven't really made that move. Much better in terms of drone economy. 6 drones to their name, but patient, maybe even a little bit indecisive about making this push. Finally, that utility clear will come in, and the entry follows, but Kento is there, just swinging the CCTV door from 90, no trouble getting the opener onto Splash.
And he's able to get back into CCTV to support his teammate, the Omai of young Alec, who is still sitting behind monitors. Kento might come under fire soon, but wow, he's just gonna fry 1 and the second. Beautiful from the Jaeger up on that shelf. A 3K from Kento thus far, looking for Ferda, will down and finish off through the pre-fire. Beautiful from the Jaeger. That's 4 for him, 1 from his other roamer upstairs as well. And Elyssar, once again, completely shut down the top clear.
Kento just showing us exactly how Border is meant to be played and how powerful the map can be if you know it well. He was able to challenge that CCTV door that led onto the balcony from 3 different angles. First, he swung the door into 90, just running around the rotate into the main hall. Then, he actually popped up, looked over the half wall. He had a little vault point. He got a cheeky angle up top, and he even just had the angle from the normal swing. Probably the most default swing from that doorway that ATK were prepared for, but they couldn't cover all 3 angles at once, and that got them into a lot of trouble. We saw how they tried to throw, I think it was Eddie, in behind to work his way through Fountain, through Office, and maybe get some 90 pressure going to prevent Kento from doing exactly what he did. But that backsided take from ATK, it just came way too late. There was no pressure being applied to Kento when the actual push from ATK was coming in to CCTV. So Kento could run around freely, could just fry those attackers freely, and then it was a last-ditch effort to pull it back, and really it was a feeble attempt at that. That's Elyssar with 3 in a row. My lord, Kento just melted apart that attack.
ATK have lost 2 drones. Oh, no, they didn't. Why did it say...
You're lying to us?
Why did it say 3 drones?
Stop lying to us, Harrison.
The overlay thing in the top right lied to me.
Uh-huh.
I hate it here.
Sure.
All right, well, never mind. I was gonna insult ATK's drone game again, but they have given me no reason to thus far.
It was fine in the last round. They had like 6 drones up. Not like they used them, to be fair, but they had them.
It was 6 drones at like a minute 40, though.
It was okay.
So yeah, it's not great, but it's better than 5 drones at a minute. So yeah, I'll give them that. ATK moving in through the bottom floor, looking like they really want to take advantage of this buck that they have. They brought it every single round, and we haven't seen Splash do too much. Remember, in the previous Armory defense, they tried to just go full horizontal, clear CC and over, and it simply did not work. Now that Splash has made his way into detention, he'll likely be looking to put Kento and whoever's behind monitors under fire from below.
Again, Kento in this position is dangerous to challenge, as we've seen before. So ATK need to make sure they've got some sort of backup plan every time they have somebody take a fight or push a specific angle. The risk is, like we've seen before, that if you're taking these 1v1 fights and you don't have a teammate nearby to support it, on Border with all of these angles, you can lose a fight and have no recourse. A perfect example right there. Kento taking the fight from above, Splash could not surprise him through the hatch, no problem cleaning it up, and guess what? No trade. Almost a minute 15 remaining. Now that we crossed that mark, you've got to wonder, where are ATK going to strike next? Finally, there's the nade, and there is the successful trade onto Kento. Well placed by Eddie, but still, they need to get a move on here, and they are all in different places. Looks like they do want to regroup over on this northeast side to get some sort of archives take going, maybe?
Not only are they rather separated with the exception of those 2 outside archives, but Jonah, they have no drones.
Oh boy.
Not at all. They had, I guess maybe Splashes is somewhere on the map. That's why the counter still says 1 and it's not dead in pocket. But still, the only form of info they have is Silence Iana Clone, which is still recharging. By the time he's able to actually use it, it's going to be between like 20 and 15 seconds left. Even man count, the shield is still up from Giddy. Nade is gonna miss, but they're not exposing themselves to the angle, at least not yet. Julian Joe just gonna come in and fry him. Young Alec the next to go down. ATK may lack the info, but they're winning the fights. Shocking out downs Eddie, finishes him off, but Silent and Julian chime in, and despite having no info whatsoever, ATK do what they do best, run in and get the kills.
And that's Border for you. Even when everything is stacked in one favor of one of these teams, you can just, you slap that Control-Z button on your keyboard, and all of a sudden, you are sprinting in, and you are taking fights. And it works sometimes. Obviously, ATK were on the back foot, even man count, but they were in trouble. But they just brute forced their way in. They take gunfights, and I suppose not every time is Elyssar going to be able to just tear you apart as you make your entry. So good on them for making sure they had some kind of backup plan. This is what Border is all about. It's all about these entries, yes, as we've talked about, but the beauty of this map is that there is so much that can just be so many options that are available to you in the late round, given the soft destruction, how many rotates there are, and just how easy it is to just jump into a site and just start spraying people down. So well played by them in the end, and they'll take their first.
Yeah. I also got a quick footnote too. It may be that they did have the info from earlier and Elyssar stayed static, making, you know, which would make the info not stale, which could have helped. That's definitely a possibility. We won't know for sure though. See what I mean? Look at the top right. You see how it says they only have 2 drones? Why does it say that?
Huh.
When
Maybe
they
it's people who are
clearly
on their
only
drones
lost 1.
like actively, and the other people are
Oh,
they're not
maybe.
moving or changing operators or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I do like Splash picking up the IQ as well. We saw how well Elyssar were playing around that Pulse and Valkyrie combo. Whole lot of info. Bring IQ to deny it. Take away some of the eyes from the defense.
Well, the attack, like you said, 9 possible eyes, 9 drones to get into the mix here. The key for this round, can they spot out all of these defenders who are going to be on the top floor and all the defenders who are going to be pressuring them from below with these nitro cells and getting that intel, like you said, Harrison, right? Right now, we've got a couple on this top floor. I think 3 in Inrio, Giddy, and young Alec, who are mostly positioned over on this north side. Splash looks like he wants to potentially challenge, or at the very least open up a rotate and prevent Elyssar from moving as freely through this top floor. Both plans which would be quite effective. But ATK still have to make some progress here. They'll do that as Giddy is finally felled. Rips a C4, detonates it, but finds nothing. Silent getting his second will take young Alec's life. Inrio with a trade, but now he knows he's got to drop away. Eddie, nice angle there. Well-placed breaching hammer on that top floor. He'll take down Inrio, no problem. A 4v2.
I like that from Eddie. That's a very good cutoff. And that leaves Kento and Vivid, like you said, in a 4v2, trailing with not the best guns either. Very low rate of fire. And unfortunately for Kento, unlike Frostgun, it does not hit like a truck. He does still have a C4 in pocket, so could potentially work out for a free pick and put us down to a 2 versus 3. Frost mats might also still be in play. A lot of times those are typically under those teller's windows, which are kind of tough to shoot out because there's a lot of angles you have to worry about when you're jumping through said windows. But Herder's going to start to make his way downstairs. We know him as the one of the main spearheads for ATK. Vivid now rotates in through reception. Drone, I'm not sure if it spotted him. I think it just went past him through customs. Herder might not be aware of this position. You've also got Kento still tucked in through workshop. C4 goes out, but beautiful coverage from above. Vivid with 2 kills. The plant goes down, though. And that leaves Julian and Eddie in this post plant. Sure, Julian is downstairs, but Eddie's still got the coverage from up above through that hatch. It's going to be really tough for Vivid to try and fight. He'll shoot out a drone. That'll reveal his position. He'll try and maybe make some kills through the wall, but he'll think better of it. He has not a lot of info on Eddie or Julian's positions as well. Maybe that IQ destroying the Valcams coming into play. Eddie is directly above him. He'll land the kill onto Julian, but there it is. Eddie with the perfect refrag. Great coverage from above from him all around, not just on the execute. ATK take round number 5.
Well, we've been doing a lot of complimenting of Elyssar's soft destruction, their ability to establish rotates and have some, good use of the vertical play. But in this round, you gotta give it up to Eddie for doing that beautifully. I mean, getting in, taking that top floor control, it took ATK a good bit of time, but once they were able to do this, and the key whenever you take vertical control is making the most effective use of that control as you can. And Eddie, I gotta say, seemed perfect to me. Not only did he come in clutch in that post plant, of course, getting the vertical angle, making it essentially impossible for Elyssar to win that round. But earlier, when Inrio had rotated back to the site after, getting a trade and dancing around that top floor for a bit, he dipped downstairs and Eddie had the cutoff. He had opened up a hole, I believe, in archives facing, that workshop door, and he was just ready for Inrio to walk in. Got that kill, no problem. ATK then had a 2-man advantage, and it really put them over the edge at that point. So ATK, despite their intel troubles and their overall map control troubles, that's 2 rounds in a row now where they've alleviated that, and they're showcasing, why they were willing to go here at the end of the day.
Something I think that has helped ATK through this map so far in the past 2 rounds, despite their info game, again, we're going to be mentioning this literally all map, by the way, so get used to it. But despite their info game being a little lackluster, I think what's really helped them is Elyssar's repetition when it comes to the strategies. They have never really been a super complex team. They can bring out some cool stuff here and there, but they typically stick to the game plan, and they've been running the same strats over and over on Border so far through the repetition of sites. Like, this is the 3rd time we're seeing this strategy on Armory with the duo hold and CCTV, the shield on the Armory wall playing with the Echo playing behind it, the shield right in the Fountain wall with Smoke, Vivid playing there in Fountain. It's the same thing, and that probably aided ATK, despite having no drones. That's probably aided them in their little site rush. Julian, though, down first. Young Alec getting that opening pick. Giddy coming under heavy fire, though, I think all the way from Archives. He'll persist, though. No trade just yet, but as I say that, both Kento and Giddy fall, giving ATK a man advantage.
Yeah, 2 really nice kills back-to-back, and only 1 minute in. ATK are looking good here. Losing your ace does suck, but this map is probably the least dependent on hard breach that there are. Without it, ATK should be fine as long as they play together. They cannot afford to present someone like Inrio with these 1v1 gunfights, because as he just showed us, he will win those. Eddie is now gone. Back to a 3v3. You've got Ferda trying to get active. Silent, who's recovered this diffuser. ATK, they're looking like they want to push in. Vivid, of course, has these smokes, but it's going to need to use these pretty early because, again, with the rotation they've established,
Whoa!
This is risky here. Young Alec, oh no! A huge choke. He sneaks in from behind, has the flank of the year, but misses 2 players, loses his life. And ATK, they pounce on that opportunity, tear apart Elyssar. We're tied up at 3.
I don't know what to say. Wow. I mean, it was a pretty even round up until that point. I would say ATK were probably in the advantage because most of Elyssar were forced to evacuate the site. That's why they just started to completely ignore the CC hold. They figured, okay, we killed that Echo. Kento is dead as well. We just try and rush in and take this free site control. As Vivid rotates back, there's a nade with his name on it. And you gotta wonder, if Alec hit his shot, does he kill the Iana early enough to where that nade just drops harmlessly on the balcony? Conserving Vivid's life, allowing him to use his gas canisters, prevent the push in through the breach. That's probably doesn't force Inrio to rotate in and give his life up to the Zofia as well. That whiff from young Alec spiraled into a domino effect that ended up winning ATK the round. What a heartbreaker. Elyssar looked unstoppable in the first 3 rounds, but those repetitive site plays give ATK the comeback they were looking for, and we end up at an even half.
Yeah, just like that, after Elyssar dominance, ATK have recovered, and, well, there you have it. It's anyone's game. We go into ATK's defensive half now to see what they've cooked up on the other side. Starting off with a site that we actually haven't seen yet as well. We're going straight to Workshop and Vents rather than any of the other 3 sites that Elyssar preferred on their defense. ATK bringing out a new one here, but extending all over this map. Not only do we see, right, this mute jammer over in detention, we see a setup all the way on the top floor as well. We saw reinforcements in Armory, some soft destruction up there. We've got an entire map that ATK are trying to maintain control of for as long as they can. Of course, Elyssar being the team and the confident team that we know they are, something that they're likely to realize and try to deal with as soon as they can. Of course, that's easier said than done. We do have some players making their entry, though. Obviously, we have that exothermic charge go off in detention, opening up a first floor avenue, but now the top floor avenue is being explored as well from this east side.
Yeah, of course, just like Old Border, in order to attack Armory, in order to attack Workshop and Vents, you have to clear in from above. A drone will go out, I believe, spot Splash. He's got 2 roamers upstairs to assist him, tucked in armory as well. So ATK are giving Elyssar a lot of ground to try and set up. Jammer going to be dealt with as well, so they can open up the very long angle from deep archives into armory. One of those roamers has oh no, I thought he fell back. He's actually still in box. That's silent on Alibi. Elyssar have spent about a minute 40 just clearing in through the map so far. There's still 3 people upstairs that they have to deal with, that they haven't even really begun to pressure out.
Yeah, this is the beauty of this setup from ATK right now. Trying to maintain this entire map, it's risky when it comes to the execute, but right now, Elyssar have to waste so much time, and for what? Only 1 kill now, and well-timed from young Alec, because things were starting to get a little bit dicey, but Julian getting that trade, bringing things back with only 4 drones left. Elyssar are in a tough spot. There is no doubt about that. Kento, he's working his way in from supply, hoping that he can get something going from the back, but Ferda still a weapon. You have these players from this top floor who have now finally rotated down, and they are making an impact. Splash finding that kill onto Kento, 30 seconds left. Vivid needs to find this kill right now, barely getting it done, downing and finishing Ferda, so it's a 3v3. Silent now, he steps up, he takes the head of Inrio. It's a 2v3. Young Alec and Vivid, they're kind of stuck here. You've got young Alec up top, nowhere close to Vivid right now. Vivid, who has to worry about the site players and somebody over in customs. He'll get downed and finished. There's no diffuser in young Alec's pocket. He doesn't have the time. He's got to find these frags, and Julian will not let that happen. ATK, they take round 7 with a textbook roam and extension.
Very slow roam clear from Elyssar, lacking the ferocity that we've seen from them in their early wins in stage 1. Taking it very slow. Like I said, spending a lot of time gaining map control and opening walls, but the ATK roamers were playing so far back that it was a lot of time really spent doing nothing. Sure, they had angles established, but without ATK being flushed out and forced to peek, they really do nothing. By the time Elyssar actually start clearing out and finishing the top floor clear, it is so late into the round. Vivid already expending all of his hard breach, so he can't open that single panel wall into workshop as well. There's like 3 people staring at the soft bathroom wall, so he can't really do much about it. Sure, he gets 1 kill, but is swiftly refragged. I believe that was Julian on the Legion. A lot of positions from ATK that Elyssar either never pressured or took way too long to do so. Now Elyssar, who started off with a 3-0 lead, have forfeited the last 4 in a row.
I mean, this is the time to take a timeout. There is really no better time. Obviously, maybe you could wait a round or 2 to see more of ATK's defenses before you jump the gun there. But the point is, Elyssar, they have lost the momentum in every sense of the word. ATK, 4 rounds in a row, shifting to the defensive side. Elyssar probably hoped that that would be the switch. But ATK have proved that it doesn't matter. They can rock with it again. And here's the deal. And what's most troubling for Elyssar, we are seeing another first floor defense, and ATK, their structure is almost the same from that last round in terms of their overall map control. Again, you have Eddie setting up armory, putting 1 reinforcement, opening up some soft destruction, giving himself some angles to work with. You still have Ferda, who's going to be running all over this map. You've got Silent. He's going to be hunting for these kills. Map control, that's the name of the game for ATK. Not the style that Elyssar was playing necessarily on their defense to this extent. ATK, in their first defensive round, they made it work perfectly. Can Elyssar answer here in round 8 is the question.
And Elyssar, again, tasked with clearing this upstairs roam, something that took them a very long time to do in the previous round. He's got a little hole in the barricade. Splash, not aware of it, is going to give up his life. A little bit of poor positioning there from the Wamai. And that'll give Elyssar the opening pick, you know, something that they were desperately looking for, and something that'll come to them a lot swifter than in the previous round. So they'll start off with a 1-man advantage, as well as CCTV control to now mount the clear into armory.
Young Alec wary of a possible flank on the east stairs, but nothing happening just yet. He'll be able to focus on this top floor clear and joining his teammates. He'll send a Gemini clone through to make sure office is clear. Kento, good cutoff down in customs, but Silent. Good heads-up play to get the trade after his teammate was immediately felled. So you lose Eddie, you lose Splash, but you get one back onto the Finca. It's not over yet. Elyssar do have the control, though, they need, and they have it much faster than last time. Top floor secured. Giddy even has that angle onto, well, someone down below. I believe that's Ferda, who darted away, but he will not get even a bullet sent his way because Giddy just could not get the timing right there. Still busy doing what really he should be focusing on. That is opening up more angles, giving his entire team more angles to work with up above.
Fortunately for ATK, they're avoiding said angles for now. Ferda might come into fire, though, as the attackers seem aware of his position towards Workshop, or at the very least, just kind of clearing it by default, just in case a defender is sitting there. Inrio making his way down the east stairs, already to establish himself in lobby. Nades going down the hatch to make sure there's no defenders tucked in any of those bathroom corners. And Elyssar have been taking their sweet time, but they'll finally drop in at about 15 seconds left. Ferda blindsides Vivid. Beautiful shot to deny that initial planter. Young Alec gets the refrag. Julian is the only one left, and his teammate falls, but no, he denies plant. The attackers now need to start to rush in. He'll get one, but Giddy is right behind his teammate to get the trade. Nearly a win from ATK, but Elyssar don't let it slip out of their control.
Yeah, they didn't let it slip out of their control because they did have that control for the majority of the round, it felt like, right? They had those 2 kills, and it was in that, 4v3 scenario for them for the most part before they got that execute and while they were building up to that moment. But really, it did start off with a great clear from Elyssar, and that's the difference maker. Think about that last round, how much Elyssar struggled, and the big difference, and a reason I suspect why ATK picked this site second and went for Workshop and Vents first, is because their top floor setup, that extension, it just wasn't as comprehensive. It was very similar, but they struggled to hold those positions as long as they did in the previous round, likely in a large part due to Elyssar realizing what they were dealing with. They had encountered it once already. Again, this is the first time we've seen this map this stage, so everything you are seeing, you are essentially seeing it for the first time. These teams, it's no different for them. Elyssar, once they got an idea of how ATK's structure worked, they're able to go into the next round without a timeout, address the issues, and work through that much faster. Like you said, Harrison, it did almost slip away, but they maintained that control and they were able to take it, so we are still tied.
Yeah, thanks to the trade game too, as well, in large part. The importance of trades on a frag-heavy map can never be understated. Something that has been a bit understated, though, is Kento's presence so far in this attacking half. He's only got 1 kill so far in the past 2 rounds. Someone who was a demon on defense has certainly quieted down. I actually think his first kill on attack was that one that you mentioned, the cutoff on the metal stairs that he got onto, I believe it was Splash. So hopefully he's able to get the ball rolling once again as Finca, armed with that LMG. There's not a whole lot of excuses you can use when you're not doing too well, but he'll open up the top of this wall, likely send a nade through so that Elyssar can, again, do what they did last time on this attack and open up the detention wall first and foremost.
Kento now with a nade, hoping to deal with the mute jammer on the other side. Seems like he has, because the exothermic will go off, and Elyssar will now have that avenue from detention, something that they have established consistently in these attacking rounds so far. Next, what we've seen from them, and likely what we're seeing right now, yep, that's confirmed, that they're going to enter up above through this east side, already opening up an avenue into office, working their way eventually into fountain to clear out the remainder of top floor, exactly where Silent is holding right now, over in archives and armory. At the same time, we might see a little bit more horizontal pressure, though, as Giddy is rotating around, potentially towards supply, to join his teammate down there, who opened up an angle. Instead, it looks like he'll actually put some focus on these top floor players, but he's got to watch out, because Eddie has this destruction to work with, already a couple of holes to swing if he knows that Giddy is there.
We talked about ATK's poor drone game a lot on their attacking half. We're really beating a dead horse there, but I'm worried about Elyssar. We had about, I think it was 1:45 left on the clock, and not counting the Twitch drones, they only have 3 left. Now, only 2. Eddie will get the first frag, but Alec is there with a swift trade, so it doesn't go unanswered, but still, you lose your sledge on the Teller's attack. Not the air operator that you wanted to lose. And with only 2 drones left, that info is going to become even more important now that you don't have those free angles.
Spray here from Julian. Wary of building pressure from Elyssar. Kento gets taken down. All of a sudden, Ferda, he has still not been forced out or tracked down by Elyssar. That is very concerning here. You've got young Alec who's going to try to make a move, but he is alone. If he dies to the Oryx right now, this round is over. Ferda, I mean, he is still running free. Vivid now can push the site, but he is again alone. Inrio was not playing close enough to get that trade. Bomb now dropped. 10 seconds left in a 1v4. Good luck, Inrio. You've got to find 4 kills in 10 seconds. Unlikely that that's going to happen. He'll pick up the first, but not the second. Ferda, a menace in that round. Elyssar, they could not track him down, and that right there was enough to cost them the whole thing.
Not only did Elyssar take a long time to establish top floor dominance, it took a lot of drones. They lost their sledge, so no more free angles down onto bathroom, and that kind of forces them to try and readjust, reevaluate what they want to do on this attack. They end up going full horizontal instead, and they get clapped by Ferda, still roaming in customs. I imagine it was a lack of info that caused Kento's death, or he just took a 1 and lost it. I mean, the way Alec was playing, obviously he had no active drone info on that Oryx. That's large part why he lost that 1v1. Elyssar's drone game right now, just as weak as we saw ATK's. Neither of these teams really able to leave their drones up past like the minute 30 mark. It seems like once we reach half the round, the teams only have like 4 or less drones left.
I mean, it could just be the map, right? I mean, it could just be border in
That too.
the amount of intel that's required, right? You have so many different angles you're worried about, and the way ATK are playing this, right? They're playing so much of this extension and so many roamers. No wonder you have to devote so many drones to that kind of position. A map like Clubhouse as well, that not only there are maybe fewer positions to drone, but 2 that you know a lot clearer. Maybe you don't have to use as many drones, right? I mean, these teams, again, it's their first time. They don't know exactly where they should be paying attention or exactly where these players like to rat. They don't know each other's setups yet. So it's all a learning curve, and the drones can help alleviate any of those concerns. And that's something that Elyssar will likely have to focus on, much like we were highlighting from ATK on their attacking side. But right now, again, the onus lies with Elyssar again. We're heading back to Vents and Workshop, the location of a very successful ATK defense the first time around. And oh no, a troubling waste of a grenade from Kento. Not able to get the mute jammer off the wall, actually doing damage to himself. Forced to waste a Finka boost, so early on, not a great start.
As now they're just looking to clear up above and get it from the ceiling instead of wasting another nade, which is not a decision that I necessarily disagree with. I think, you know, if you want to do it to conserve your nade, you don't have to get the detention wall open all that early. Splash is on Valkyrie as well. No IQ from Elyssar to counter it, and he's already got that C4 in hand, looking for a freebie if Elyssar get a little too complacent, and there it is right on cue. Splash will blow at young Alex sky high and get the opening pick for his team.
Another good start for ATK, and for Elyssar, who is already struggling with this map control. Losing a body early is not going to help in that whatsoever. It seems that Elyssar, realizing this, may be trying to get a bit more direct. You've got Giddy, who's already using the skeleton key to open up a door onto the site, but he gets fried. Julian takes him down. The only hole he'll be able to open is the 1 vault rotate that you could potentially jump in from the bathroom side, but options, again, running out from Elyssar. They're just simply going to have to force this at some point. In a 3v5 with under a minute to go, this time their intel game is fine. They've got 7 drones, but they don't have the bodies left up to just keep using those drones. They don't have the time to keep using those drones. You have a player in bathroom trying to nade Julian out. He'll get lit up, but still a force. You've got Ferda on the backside, who they haven't dealt with. Oh boy, this is not looking good.
for the majority of these rounds on defense, ATK have been able to do pretty much whatever they want, and Elyssar can't seem to put a stop to it. Eddie will kill Vivid. Now it's a 2 versus 5. Eddie will finally hit the floor. Julian is prone here, waiting for Kento, daring this Finka to attempt to vault through the rotate, and he'll eventually die to a crossfire. Julian picks up the kill and finishes the last one through the hatch. ATK with yet another round, a 3K from the Legion, and Elyssar still floundering on their attacks.
And guess what? No timeout. Hello?
Nope.
Timeout? Please? Take a timeout, please? No. Guess we're going right back into it. Elyssar, I don't know if they feel that this is already lost or they feel that they're better off just sending it in again. But if there's anything we've realized over these last few rounds, even since the first half, where really Elyssar, that was the last time they were consistently successful, it's that Elyssar just haven't been able to put a finger on ATK. They have not been able to figure out exactly what they need to do to overcome what ATK are throwing at them. I gotta say, as unorthodox as it may have looked initially with their defensive setups, they are working like a charm, extending across the map, leveraging, allowing these roamers to just roam free, quite literally, allowing them to tear apart the attack, make them second guess every decision. And for a team like Elyssar, it is a little bit surprising to see them struggling this much. They've had enormous success this stage by playing their game, and ATK have successfully pulled out the border, and on the defensive side have just turned it on.
Elyssar are just getting walked over on these defenses. I don't know if it's purely lack of info and ATK's positioning catching them off guard, but a lot of times as well, it seems like when ATK are taking those 1v1 engagements, more often than not, they're just winning them. And somehow that's how border happens to work out. Eddie has a nice spawn peek, could catch the head, but no, misses a couple shots on Vivid, and so he'll be forced to fall back. But I mean, hey, no harm, no foul. He didn't die either. He delayed Vivid's ascent to the building, you know, maybe by a couple seconds, whatever. But strangely enough, Jonah, it's the 5th round on defense, and only now are we seeing Armory.
Yeah, first time we're seeing this one brought out by ATK. They've loved these first floor sites, and they've thrived with that style. Maybe this is what Elyssar needed. Maybe they needed to attack this top floor. Maybe that's what they were prepared for. Well, just kidding. Eddie is just a beast. That's a good shot onto Kento. He gets lit up, of course, because Kento was looking his way, but Eddie wins that long-range fight, SMG against LMG. He just doesn't care. He'll take it and win it. Ferda gets a bit too over-aggressive, though. Maybe speaking a little bit to the confidence that ATK have built up to this point, because he'll take a fight that just didn't make a lot of sense, so young Alec had no trouble in collecting that one.
That was a little odd. Eddie as well damaged, so Elyssar have the advantage in terms of HP, I guess. There's still a guy in CCTV. It doesn't look like Elyssar are too concerned with that side of the map, though. They're not pushing the armory side, so they don't really have to worry about the alibi of Splash too much. They'll open a couple more holes, lines of sight into Fountain. Good crossfires from the attack being established, but I don't know if they have enough hard breach to open the single archives panel.
So just waiting for the opportune moment. You hear that beeping. You hear that Elyssar, they're going to have to be wary of where they push in next. Inrio does have a chance here of spotting out these slightly extended defenders. One behind in the bathroom stall there. Inrio didn't swing him in time. It's Silent who swings out to support his teammate. Takes down Inrio from behind. Eddie on low health will get his triple. Young Alec is last alive, caught between a rock and a hard place. He'll take down Splash, but the GGs come out because he is out of time. ATK, despite the rough start, down 3 rounds, they turn it around, only losing 1 more for the rest of the map, taking a 7-4 win and looking dominant while doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, walking all over Elyssar on those defenses, and we just talked about how beautifully they played that previous round. Not only did they have that man advantage, thanks to Eddie working his way downstairs, denying Giddy. After Inrio goes on the hunt, Eddie calls out, okay, I'm being hunted down. I need the C4 presence. Silent comes in for the assist, distracts Inrio long enough for Inrio to be completely confused on where he's getting shot from. Kills, and ends up, I think it's Silent that ends up killing that Twitch. Eddie doesn't even need the C4. He just shoots Vivid through, I think, floor holes in the head. Elyssar, for their entire attacking half, with the exception of that one good Tellers round, that still came down to a 1v1, looked like they just didn't know what they were walking into.
Yeah, started off great for Elyssar, but then ATK, they just looked great. How great? I'll let our analyst desk tell you more about that, so we'll throw it back to them. They'll break this one down.
This was definitely a tight match. Another 7-4. I would argue a closer 7-4 than the first one, Connor. When you're looking at this map, when you're breaking it down, you see these teams going 3-3 out of the first half. When that flips to the next half and ATK is on defense, are you liking their chances at that point?
It's hard to say because ATK started off really slow and they looked confused and LSR looked completely in control. But then again, that's on the defensive side, which, sure, on this map, I would say leans a little bit more towards the attacker side. But LSR, I almost feel like they shot themselves in the foot by banning that OSA. With the playstyle of ATK, I think it would have been great for them to incorporate that operator into their pool. But instead, they took it straight off the board and in turn struggled a lot on the attacking side. Kento, phenomenal defensive half, 7 kills. Guess how much he ended with? Ended with 8.
Oh boy.
1 single kill on the attacking half.
One of the things that we were talking about, Tanner, and this is what I find really interesting about a game like Siege. We saw ATK on their attacks. They seem to have this almost like wait, and then let all mayhem break loose. And hey, they walked away with 3 round wins. And then we look over at the side of LSR, and they seem to have all this structure on their attacks and not really do much with it. It never really unfolded the way they wanted it to.
Yeah, you saw on the side of ATK when they started to do their attacks, if they weren't getting picks, they weren't really moving, then they had to just funnel. And I feel like the big misplay from LSR on their defensive half when ATK started pulling these rounds out is they were not anticipating the rush. And that was just a staple. If you go back and watch ATK's VOD, when they don't get picks and they're slowing down their attacks, they got to execute in the last 10 seconds, it's going to be 3 guys piling in through one doorway, and it's just going to be an all-out brawl. And where was Elyssar with all that? They're spread out all over the map, leaving guys like Vivid in a 1v3 situation and allowing ATK to just get all that free map control.
And Connor, the stats on this side, we had that side where it started off, you're looking at LSR, you have guys that are 7-7, 8-8, 6-6, and then they lost their steam, and ATK, it was like just opposite trajectories. As one ramped up, the other one ramped down.
Yeah, and for ATK's defensive side, their off-site pressure was a lot stronger. I think that the final round of this game with both Silent and Eddie down below late round on the office take for the top floor defense was absolutely massive. Sure, you were sending Inrio down below on the Twitch trying to solo clear thinking that maybe there's only 1 people, but he walks into a crossfire and then boom, vertical pressure from down below. There's already pre-opened holes on the floor to deny the plant, plus nitros and all this other stuff that with LSR trying to get the control they eventually got. But really, what did they accomplish? They weren't really getting a whole lot of picks with it because ATK was comfortable falling back. This is a team that thrives in the chaos. If LSR was going to kind of snap their fingers and try to flood, ATK would have been more prepared for it than what we saw LSR on their own defensive side.
Well, as ATK topped the match again, that means we will be speaking to a representative of the team. This time it's going to be Tysus, who's one of the analysts for ATK. Tysus, how's it going? Congratulations. You guys are now 7-1, the top team in the league. How does that feel at the moment?
That's awesome, like here at Wichita Rose, we practice a lot, we train a lot, just for the win,
Now, part of your job as an analyst, obviously you're breaking down the game for your team, you're helping your players improve. This was one of those matches where LSR was making mistakes and it seemed that ATK was capitalizing on every mistake. Is it part of your job to kind of help your players make sure that they can recognize those moments and make the most of them?
Yes, exactly. Like here in ATK, We have Wafer, we had Napsy, we have me. So I do most the counter analysis, and I watch the VODs, and I make the counter analysis for our team to like get those timings correct, make the correct things. So we do a lot of different strats, that we create here to like counter those teams.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, you're doing a fantastic job so far. One last question for you. Silent and Julian, we both know they're capable players, but they're not always the ones at the top of the leaderboard. But today they did such a good job. What do they mean to the team?
Bro, like everyone here is too important, I recognize their importance. So here everyone like plays well, we praise for the I don't know how I say it in English, but everyone is important, okay?
Yeah.
So like sometimes one guy can like play very well and one guy like play badly, but we know the importance of everyone,
Well, thank you so much for your time, Tysus. You guys are having a great stage, and good luck with the last few games that you guys have.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Man, ATK turning out to be quite a story so far this stage. I think, we thought that they would be pretty good. I don't think that any of us were going to say, yeah, they're going to go 7-1 with, one or two matches in hand still to go. But man, have they been good. But once again, as we always say, there's a couple of games down. There's 3 more to go. We still got a long day ahead of us. We're going to go to that quick break. And when we come back, it's going to be Gaming Gladiators taking on. It's going to be a tough one, Aerial Arise.